All right. Well, we'll start slowly here and start getting along here. But good afternoon. My name is Thomas. I'm joined by my colleague Danielle and also Taylor from the RDN. We are representing the CleanBC Energy Coach program. Our program supports communities, local governments, industry stakeholders, in the promotion of CleanBC rebate programs and education about heat pumps and other energy efficient programs. Today, we will be learning about energy efficient products and how to access the rebates and grants for them. This webinar will be recorded. All incentive amounts will be reflected as available today on November 28th in 2023. For most up-to-date information, please always check the betterhomesbc.ca website for more up-to-date information as always. And I would like to start first by acknowledging that we respect the Coast and Strait Salish people and the Saanich in whose traditional territory and unceded territory we're presenting on today. For the Lekwungen, the Sanghees, and Esquimalt Wasanich, in whose historical relationship with the land we continue with this day. Now I will be passing it off to Taylor from the Regional District of Nanaimo.
Perfect, thanks, Thomas. Okay, so hi everyone, my name is Taylor Nielsen, and I'm the Climate Action Outreach Coordinator with the RDN. I'd like to welcome you to our second webinar of our 2023 Outreach Series. And this series informs residents about the various ways to take climate action at home. And we are covering topics such as rebates and incentives, processes for enhancing home energy efficiency, and transitioning to electric vehicles. So before we go any further, I want to acknowledge I'm also hosting this meeting from the traditional territory of the Coast Salish people, more specifically the Stigamish First Nations, which is Ladysmith. And as Thomas mentioned, today's webinar is about energy efficient home upgrades and rebates. And I just want to thank the community energy coaches from CleanBC for helping us host this presentation today. And before we move on to the CleanBC presentation, I'm just going to cover a couple of things about our green building program. So if you want to switch to the next slide, Thomas, that'd be great. Perfect. So this webinar series is part of our RDN Green Building Program, which has been connecting residents to sustainable technologies since 2012. And we have a number of resources to support our green building program and help people do more sustainable design approaches at home. And this includes our Green Building Program Guidebook series, which includes the Sustainable Site Planning Guide, which is displayed up on the slide here. And it also includes a rainwater harvesting guide and a renewable energy guide. And all of that can be found on the website that's below at the bottom here on the slide here, our energy and sustainability page. And then the Green Building Program also includes our rebate program, which the green building side of it is mostly available to electoral area residents, but then we also have water stewardship rebates, which are available to all electoral area residents and municipalities in the RDN. And the Green Building Program specifically complements other initiatives for building resilience, including the Drinking Water and Watershed Protection Program. We have a Fire Smart program, net solid waste and net zero, zero waste programs. So all of that information can be found on the RDN's website. And you can switch to the next slide here. And before we move on to the presentation, I just want to remind everybody that we do have another in-person workshop coming up in January. It's going to be a draft proofing workshop held in Coombs at the Bradley Center from 3 to 5. So if you'd like to join that workshop or find the recordings from our past webinars or even this webinar, you can find all of that information on the website that's displayed on this slide here. And I'm also going to paste these websites into the chat so you have them available before we, and that's everything I had to say. I'm going to pass it off to Thomas now. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Taylor, for that information and those great incentives and rebates for your local area. Today, we will cover a lot of topics and a wide range of things, kind of going through first about the greenhouse gas emissions, house as a system, and then kind of all the different rebates and grants that you have available, and then each program that it kind of contributes to itself. So first item we will kind of go quickly through is what is greenhouse gas emissions. Greenhouse gas emissions are a combination of 3 different gases. The main gas that we're typically mattered with is methane gas. That is what typically natural gas is located off of. And a lot of these are contributed by household activities, deforestation, agriculture, industrial areas, and things like that that do contribute to the greenhouse gas emissions overall. When looking into our emissions for our home, natural gas takes up about 16 times as much energy for the greenhouse gas emissions. That is meaning that there is 16 times the amount of total emissions coming from natural gas per se. Metro Vancouver has over about 90% of its total heating still done by natural gas, which is a big number and could be reduced at a much higher rate. Here's a good comparative to kind of see how the oil heating and emission spectrums that you have between the three different types. So we have oil heating, natural gas heating, and then also a heat pump. Heat pumps do produce a little bit of emissions, but not as much as compared to the other two. Overall, the reason that we want to do this is because BC has one of the most cleanest green energy grids as well. We have about 98% total energy that is generated by hydroelectric power. That is about 12,000 megawatts of hydroelectric generating capacity, with the caveat still that 70% of our economy is still powered by fossil fuels. So the main goal for BC residents is to work together to create a clean electricity grid. These are the different types of upgrades we'll kind of go through, such as air and water heating, air sealing, windows, solar, and other things within that program. First, to build those concepts, though, we need to talk about a house as a whole. This word gets thrown around a couple times, and it's called the house as a system concept. So what this concept entails is that everything within your house has a greater effect than you normally would think. So that means that each component in your home interacts with other components, impacting the efficiency, either good or bad, to the entire home or system. That can be with your safety, health, moisture control, indoor air quality, climate, many other things within your house. An example of that would be such things as air leakage issues that I was just explaining, where if you upgrade your insulation inside of your house, you do have to also think about your total moisture that's going to happen inside your house. Those things work together and kind of hand in hand effect, and also making sure that they balance to each other out. Overall, you want to make sure that you keep consistent temperatures within the house and making sure that you are doing that per se. Next, we will kind of generally go through EnerGuide home evaluations. EnerGuide home evaluations are what you need to enter into the federal program. They are basically a non-biased measurement to your house and trying to assess your overall efficiency. The energy advisor will take measurements and assess the efficiency of your home windows, insulation levels, space and water heating, and ventilation. They will always need to complete a blower door test to measure the exchanges in your home. There's a couple few instances that they do not have to do it based off if you have vermiculite or asbestos in the house. And if you do, please always tell your energy advisor ahead in advance just to help make sure that you're safe. First, to talk about the two key incentive programs is that we are going to talk about the provincial system, which has up to about 13,000 available rebates as a whole combined. There are also municipal top-ups that are available for every area, such as what Taylor talked about with the RDN. There are different types of top-ups that you can get. Please always check your local areas for any updates or anything like that. There is also the federal grant program. There's two types of things within that as well. There's the $5,000 maximum grant that you're allowed for, and then also the $40,000 loan and the oil to heat pump program that I'll quickly go through soon. Layered within the CleanBC programs and offers, there are four major items. First is the Better Homes program. Most people access this and have incentives up to about $14,000 and $500. These are different ranges of upgrades and retrofits that you have to do to your house to be eligible for each one. Next, the most common one is the income qualified program. It is always something that is worthwhile checking out for if you qualify for it, as you need to meet a certain threshold of income or be under that to obtain greater upgrade rebates and things that you could get access to. That could be up to about $33,000 and $900. The second to last program is the low interest finance program, which is very similar to the actual loan program offered by the federal government, but is a little bit different as it only entails your heat pump upgrades within your household. The last and most uncommon one is the new construction program. that is offering about $15,000 for new constructions, but is currently subscribed as of right now for the end of the year. The second piece will be the federal system. Within the federal grant program, there's about up to $5,000 maximum allowed up to you. The other $600 that it comes up is for your EnerGuide evaluations that you need to complete both of them to get access to that $600. The second piece would be the Canada Greeners Home Grant loan, which is very similar to the other one beforehand, but it is an interest-free loan that you have a 10-year payback time and can be used for any retrofit within your house. The third and the last program here that we will worry about for residential homes will be the oil to heat pump affordability program. This is also similar to the income qualified program where you have to meet below a certain threshold of income and that you could basically change your oil system, only oil heated people can access this program, into a heat pump that qualifies. This program is one of the few grant programs that does not require home evaluation compared to the Canada Greeners Home grants you need an evaluation for, and the loan you also needed evaluations for. Here's a quick graphic to explain how the process for the federal system works. First, you would overall apply for the program. Then you would get a report after usually about 14 days. You will prioritize the renovations that you think are most beneficial to your house and what's going on. Inside of that as well, you will then apply possibly for the interest-free loan that I was just talking about. That will then choose which retrofits you do for your house, complete your post-evaluation, and then after that, you will upload the final documents of your invoices and of the receipts from your EnerGuide evaluations to be able to apply for the federal grants. This next section will be diving deeper into the different upgrades within your house, what is efficient, what is beneficial about them, and what type of things are available to you. First, we will go through the different types of heat pumps, what is the most common and available for your household, and what is available overall for rebates and grants. On average, I would say heat pumps are 3 to 4 times more efficient than average heating systems within your house. The common ones we see are central ducted and ductless heat pumps. First are the central ducted heat pumps. So if you have an original ducted system, you can integrate this into your old and original system. There does also sometimes have to be changes to the overall HVAC kind of basically management of that. So be warned that you definitely need to make sure that the ductwork is able to handle the units and making sure that it has the capacity for it. The second spot is the ductless mini split heat pump. This is more or less the one that you would typically not have to have a ducted system. So you could have stuff going through walls and many other units, such as an indoor mounted head unit. This system is a little bit different in that it only provides zonal heating and cooling, whereas the central system beforehand would provide whole home heating and cooling. The zonal heating just means that it only heat within that certain range with that head unit. Next, we will kind of run through the benefits of a heat pump and making sure that it gives you an idea of how it is efficient. It is cost-effective option for saving yourself money. It is climate friendly as the system does not burning any fuel or anything like that. It is just transferring heat from the inside to the outside and vice versa in different times of the year. The other piece too is indoor climate quality. Overall, with heat pumps, they do have an evaporating ability. So they are able to hold or change your humidity and be able to control it a little bit more for health and better indoor air quality. The second piece, like similar to the indoor air quality, cooling and dehumidification, so your house is a little bit less stuffy and better overall maintained. Easy ways too to always think about heat pumps. You can set them and forget them. You are typically want to not overrun them or change them too frequently. You want to allow them to stay within a range of about 2 degrees Celsius. Other things like that, it is a heating item for the future. It is making sure that we are moving our grid to a more energy efficient grid. These are some of the rebates that are available to you, both in the CleanBC and the federal side. First, you have the CleanBC where you're available up to about $6,000 for central ducted units, about $2,000 for electrically heated units, and municipal top-ups as well, with the income qualified as being there as well. The grants, just a one note too, if you are replacing from oil, is that affordability program as well. You can access up to about $10,000. Major heat pump terms that typically come up within quotes and many other things that we talk about is the HSPF rating, or the heating seasonal performance rating, which is the measure of heating efficiency for a heat pump, and the SEER rating, which is the seasonal efficiency, energy efficiency rating, which is measuring of the cool. The higher the number, the more efficient it is. Typically, you would always, with rebates and grants, you will need to have a 10 HSPF or higher. Next, we'll talk about insulation. Insulation is basically like a large, thick coat going over yourself. All it's trying to do is slow the heat transfer between outside and the inside and making sure that it's keeping your house at a consistent temperature. Typical units of things to be used for it are fiberglass, cellulose, spray foam, and rock wool. The overall benefits of insulation are increase of retention of hot air, the hot air inside of your house, and then overall comfort and reducing of the GHG emissions, and then also making sure that the house is quiet and reducing the overall maintenance, because it won't be as much of a kind of a colder area, so you won't be losing as much heat of your house. These are also some insulation incentives as well. Attic insulation, you got about $900, and these are all broken within these categories. The CleanBC rebates, you're allowed to access each one individually, whereas the grant, you're only allowed a maximum of $5,000 as well, as a reminder. Major insulation terms to know are the R value and the RSI value. The R value is an interior value that is typically used, and you hear R12, R22. Those are the typical values you hear. The higher the value, the less air transfer there is. So meaning that you will lose less heat out of your house. So it is always best to buy as high rated as you can and as possible to fit in your house. Insulation contractors will best know what is for that area, such as attics or exterior wall, of what is the best method to use. What is air sealing? Air sealing reduces the amount of air and moisture within your house. It's like having an open door to the cold weather. Nobody likes leaving a door open. It lets heat out, and the air sealing basically closes small doors for you. So that is what it's trying to do, is making sure that you do those small, simple things. These things are things like weather stripping and covering up your plugs and things like that. Very simple, small things can have the overall bigger impact on your house's air sealing. The overall benefits from that are the improved efficiency of your house. Your house will reduce the amount of air going outside, so you're losing less heat. Overall indoor house quality of your air, because you won't have outside air coming in, and then you'll increase the comfort overall as well, as the temperature will stay consistent within your house. You will also reduce the environmental impact of needing for a heating system, such as your heat pump won't have to run as hard for it to keep the house warmer. Currently, as of right now, rebates within the CleanBC program, there are none. It's typically better to just do it with the insulation rebates and kind of tailoring it in with that. With the grants, there is a small rebate of about $1,000 that you could access there. Next, what we're going to be talking about is with windows and doors. Windows and doors, the higher the efficiency, will reduce the amount of heat loss without going out of your house. Single pane windows are not as efficient as double pane or triple pane windows. With these new windows, they'll have better coatings or gases that are typically inside of them. Those coatings or gases inside help to reduce the amount of heat loss through those windows. So such things as triple pane windows that are filled with gas will be very efficient in reducing the overall amount of heat loss out of your house. With those, you'll get some peace and quiet of your house, making sure that you can't hear the hustle and the bustle of the city, protecting the overall interior of your house from UV radiation that can harm your furniture and yourself as well. Overall increased home value, nicer windows, overall keep the efficiency higher, so your house's value increases from that. And you will also save money again. as you won't have to heat your house as much as you need because the windows will be stopping the overall heat and loss from the windows. Window terms to know are the U factor. The U factor is the most common overall number to be used within the windows and determining the overall eligibility of the windows. First two numbers you'll typically come in contact with are imperial and versus metric. Metric is typically used within Canada because it is the standard, but you will also sometimes see an imperial value with American companies. That imperial value, if you ever need to convert it, is 5.678. Overall, most windows should be energy certified. Also, that is the requirement within the federal program alone, but always making sure that they're either energy certified or certified with one of the major window certification companies. Always making sure that they have a low E coating on them. Easy way to tell that is when you look at the side of the window, they're typically almost a green hue to them, or they have a little kind of a weird color. That means that they are filled with that kind of low E coating. These are some of the incentives and rebates for CleanBC as well. There's about 2,000. One big reminder is if you are located within the city of Vancouver, which obviously this isn't, they would typically not be able to access the window and door rebates. And then also with the grants, you are allowed up to about $5,000 in total in grants and rebates. The last kind of more, one of the kind of last couple sections here I'll be talking about are what are water heat pump water heaters. It's a big word there. They are most efficiently the best kind of water heating system out there, as they use the same system as a heat pump where they transfer heat from one section in and going out. Overall, they are the most climate friendly for most homes and are typically very efficient. They have a lower greenhouse gas overall, producing about 95% lower carbon footprint than a natural gas heater. Overall, the energy efficiency is dramatically less when all other energy types of water heaters are removed. And then you can also usually typically have smart controllers so you can manage your heating control loads and then also making sure that you're not heating water unnecessarily. Overall reliability of these heat pump water heaters are also a bit better as there's not as much heating and cooling over the time, as you don't need a pilot light running all the time to heat the water tank, such as gas being lost from that as well. These are some of the rebates that are available through the heat pump water heaters. There's about $1,000 from the CleanBC rebates, and then municipal top-ups as well, always just double checking what they have available for your local system. The last section we'll kind of quickly go through here too as well is what solar renewable energy is for you. Solar renewable energy is generated by harnessing the sun's power. Unlike fossil fuels, you don't have to burn anything, obviously. You will not be producing any greenhouse gases, so that would be obviously saving us a little bit of the environment. Overall benefit of solar is increases your overall resiliency from the power grid. As temperatures and things rise, we're having more reliance on these fossil fuels. With that too, there is also scarcity and typically security with those items as well. So having more resiliency from that and being able to stay away from that, you won't have to basically demand as much from the power grid. Overall, it would increase your home value as well. Installation of this now is that the person doesn't have to pay as much for their energy costs, so it'll be more of a benefit for selling the house as well. Like I said earlier, it would also save you a bit of your utility bills and making sure that you're saving a bunch of money. Typically, with the BC Hydro Net Metering Program, which you can join this program, and whatever amount of energy is not being used, you will typically be able to send it back to the grid, and they will provide you such credits generated from that, from the surplus electricity that you're creating. And then when you are needing energy from the grid, they will then provide those credits back to you and giving you ability to take back a little bit of extra money for you to save on your energy bill. Currently within the CleanBC system, there are no incentives for installing solar, just the BC Net Metering project that will be through BC Hydro. Grants wise, you can get about $5,000 for that. And then you can also get another $1,000 for batteries connected, with only a max allowed, obviously, as the $5,000 for all upgrades. Always one thing to make sure is this is what the Better Homes BC site looks like. If you ever are wondering how to navigate it, always making sure that you can kind of come to here. And if you want to search any of the rebates that are available, come here and you'll search for your rebate search tool. You'll check off renovating a home. What type of project you're looking at is going to be a big question. Where is your home located? As different areas have different pop-ups, as I was explaining. So you always want to make sure you enter that as well. That will definitely give you a bit more options and things that are closer to you. Search through the which rebates through the CleanBC program that are beneficial to you, such as the income qualified or the finance program, things like that. Please always read over them for any of the requirements within them. Also within the CleanBC program is also a great way to look for a registered contractor. If you're ever questioning or don't know where to look, don't be afraid to come onto cleanbc.ca and look at the top right as well where that self-servicing read tools is, and you could find a registered contractor for insulation, heat pumps, and other upgrades within that program. Always too as well, there's tons of FAQs within the CleanBC program and Energy Coach program. I always implore you to go check that out and make sure that everything is good. And you could see where you might have some questions and answers that could be answered from there as well. CleanBC Energy Coach service is a free coaching service designed to support energy efficiency upgrade and questions and navigate rebates where you can get started and more. Always please call us at 1-844-881-9790, always at our website as well. And you can always email the questions at askbc.ca. How to access those rebates and grants. Like I said, there are 2 stackable programs as well as before. Both programs, to access those, you'll need to have your house at least about a year. Typically, within the federal program, you would need your house to be at 6 months old, but typically with the provincial program, you'll need to be at least 12 months, so it's best to stay with that. You will need to show that you legally are living at that home, and then also that home is your primary residency. Multiple buildings or MURBs are typically not allowed. Condos and apartments over a certain size are also typically not allowed within the programs. With the overall requirements of eligibility, getting into the provincial program, you will not need to register beforehand. All you need to get is your registered contractor to install either your heat pump installation rebates or other rebates within that program. DIY upgrades within the CleanBC program are not eligible. Making sure that you do not need also an EnerGuide evaluation for the provincial program, but you do need to get it for the federal program. If you are looking at getting into that, you will need a pre-evaluation to start, and then you can get all of your upgrades, and then you will also then get your post-evaluation, as I explained earlier. DIY upgrades are allowed within the federal program, but definitely make sure when you're reading the upgrades to make sure which one is allowed and not allowed for DIY upgrades. You also, with that too, when you are applying for the loan program, you are going to need your quotes ahead of time, as they are needed for you to apply for that loan to get access to those incentives. Overall, the deadline for both programs is that the CleanBC program, you have about 6 months from the date of your invoice to apply from the program. Right there on bchydro.com/hero is the application you need to use to apply for everything. You can apply as many times as you want in different sections. You can apply all together as one full 3 upgrades together, or you can just do one individual each upgrade if you choose. Both programs, you always need to collect and gather quotes for your upgrades and eligible things. You can always ask the CleanBC Energy Coach services for any questions on eligibility requirements, such as, does this heat pump make my eligibility requirement? Please ask them those questions. With the federal program, all you need to do is make sure that it's eligible, is that all upgrades are completed as planned, that you also have finished off your post retrofit, as I explained earlier, and then you will apply with your invoices and all your upgrade receipts with that. Key reminders that I want to quickly go through here are each upgrade will have to have specific requirements. Always check with both the federal program and provincial programs, as both can differ from each other. They can either differ on the amount of money given or the overall requirements for that upgrade. If you have any questions, always contact the respective authorities to be able to answer those questions. Always, to access the federal loan, you must apply using quotes, as I explained, for all the planned upgrades beforehand. Even if it's not the upgrade or company that you go with, you can change it later on, as long as it's not more than the quoted value that you had inputted. The provincial program, again, like I said, has a firm 6-month deadline from the date of the invoice. Always, like I said, too, in doubt, always contact the Energy Coach service, as they will be able to answer all of your questions and answer any questions you might have about your upgrades and different types of incentives available to you. And does anybody have any questions for myself? Or place them in chat.
I can also answer any questions about
Yes.
our RDN rebate programs if you have questions about, specifically the green building program rebates.
You can also put your hand up and also open your microphone as well. Okay. If there are no questions or any further questions, oh, perfect. And please, thank you very much for joining us today and the CleanBC program and the RDN.
There is a question in the chat
there's a
now,
question.
actually.
Oh, no worries. Yeah, go ahead.
So, are there any rebates for electric panel upgrades if your primary heat is wood electric? So, Thomas, do you mind answering that one?
Yeah.
I will say for the RDN, the RDN doesn't have any electric panel upgrades, but I believe there is one under CleanBC.
Yeah, you can get electrical service panel upgrades. I believe you can get a rebates through them as well. They are available to you as well from there. Even if your primary heat is wood or electric, the electric service upgrade, as long as you're doing the panel, you should be all okay.
And actually, I'll ask a further clarification for this, Thomas. Is that if the customer is upgrading to a heat pump, then the electrical panel upgrade is included if they're getting a heat pump, or can they just upgrade their electric panel without getting a heat pump and still qualify for the electric panel rebate?
Danielle, do you have that answer for that one on the specification?
Actually just double checking in the terms and conditions. I can't
Yeah.
find the exact thing, but
Yeah,
I'll put it in the chat once I find it.
Yeah, we'll look for that really quickly. But yeah, typically it's electric service panel. Yeah, not too sure if you have to have the heat pump installed. That's a good question for it to count. But yeah, we'll quickly check for that one. Any other questions there?
So with the electrical service panel upgrade, you just need to be upgrading your service to 100, 200, or 400 amp service in combination with a rebate eligible upgrade from a fossil fuel primary space or water heating system to a space heating heat pump or heat pump water heater. So you do need to also upgrade your heating or water heating system in order to get that rebate.
Danielle, did that specifically say that they have to be upgrading from fossil fuels, or can they be upgrading from an electric heating system?
It does need to be an upgrade from a fossil fuel system.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that would answer that question.
Clarifying.
And yeah, wood electric would count as not fossil fuel.
Are there any other questions about CleanBC rebates or RDN
Anything.
rebates?
Please don't be scared to ask. Is water heating? So the question is water heating upgrade include electric or to instant hot water by natural gas? To answer that question, the only one that's available is through FortisBC, and I believe that one is the one that's sunsetting at the end of the year. Yeah, so there is an instant gas water heater rebate that will be through FortisBC rebates though. No worries.
Okay.
Okay.
Any other questions, everybody? And I will say, I'm going to get the recording of this presentation after. And if you want to view the recording, you can always go on our fall outreach page or the RDN's YouTube page, and the recording will be up probably by the end of this week or early next week.
Yep. Do contractors have to be members of any specific organization to qualify for rebates? Contractors have, for the provincial program, they have to be part of the HPCN, and they would have to contact the CleanBC program for entry into that contractors list. With the federal system, it's just a registered contractor.
Okay, any other questions before we wrap up this webinar? Seem like there is. But yeah, and you can also feel free to unmute yourself if you'd like to ask the question out loud or type it in the chat here. Okay. I think we're good, Thomas.
Perfect. Awesome.